told me everything that happened. Body the same age as me. From a neighborhood just like ours. Could have been me, Mama.
But what you're doing is gonna make a lot of people upset.
But you always taught me to fight for the people who need the help the most. Your life is still meaningful, and I'm gonna do everything possible to keep them from taking it.
You don't know what you're into down here in Alabama when you're guilty from the moment you're born.
God! Mr. McMillan.
We done here.
Mr. McMillan, please.
I was just about to give up when I got a call from a Harvard lawyer looking to start a legal center for inmates on death row. I was in before he even offered me the job.
You the lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for driving all the way out here. Most lawyers barely make time to call.
I can't believe you talked to all my people and say you're gonna fight for me.
I did.
That mean a lot.
If you go digging in those wounds, you're gonna be making a lot of people very unhappy.
When people care about a thing that much, they'll do anything to get what they want.
When I first learned about all this, it was like looking at a river full of drowning people and not having any way of helping them.
You ain't quitting, is you?
No, sir. Each of us is more than the worst thing that we've ever done. I know what it's like to be in the shadows.
It's my dad. He do nothing wrong.
It's never too late for justice.
You're the only one cared enough to fight for me.
If we can look at ourselves closely, we can change this world for the better. We all need grace. We all need mercy.
I got my truth back. You gave that to me. And ain't nobody gonna take that from us.
After graduating from Harvard, Brian Stevenson heads to Alabama to defend those wrongly condemned or those not afforded proper representation. One of his first cases is Deadwater McMillan, who is sentenced to die in 1987 for murder of an 18-year-old girl, despite evidence proving his innocence. In the years that follow, Stevenson encounters racism and legal and political maneuverings as tirelessly fight for McMillan's life. When Stevenson reviews the evidence in the case, he learns that it hinges entirely on the testimony of convicted felon Rob Myers. The convict had provided highly contradictory testimony to the prosecution in exchange for a plea deal and lighter sentence in his own pending trial.
I know you didn't kill Rhonda Morrison, and I can help you prove that in court if you'll let me.
You know what? You done met my whole family. You know everything about them. I don't know nothing about you, though.
What would you like to know?
I want to know it all. Like, why you doing this?
Why am I a lawyer?
No. Why is you a lawyer down here in Alabama taking these cases that ain't nobody gonna pay you for?
I grew up down the road just like yours. I played soccer in a dirt field with the pigs and chickens. Used to pump sewage from my yard. When I was a teenager, my grandfather was murdered over a black and white TV. We kept waiting for someone to show up to help. They never did. And that's when I realized that outside my community, nobody cared. Because to them, he's just another black man killed in the projects. I know what it's like to be in the shadows. That's why I'm doing this.
That's a pretty good reason.
Okay.
Let's get to work.
Okay.
Incident Critical 1. Tone of voice. Tone of voice is the non-verbal aspect of speaking. Tone is the intonation, or sometimes called an inflection. It is the rise and fall of the sound. It may also be a vowel in the syllable of the words sustained in, or a consonant which is over-pronounced. Loaded emotion and energy in the tone of a voice creates variation in the meaning of the message. You must be sure that the emotion you use in your voice tone match the message you want others to hear. The mistake is that sometimes we mislead our audience and communicate in the wrong tone. Tone of voice is different depending on places and situations. As a lawyer trying to give confidence to his client, the lawyer uses the right intonation of the voice. In the clip, Brian Stevenson uses calm conversation by telling the same story that happened to his grandfather. Every word he uses makes Walter believe him. In oral communication or public speaking, tone of voice is important because it is one technique to attract the audience's attention and persuade them to agree with what we are saying. Brian hasn't calmed Walter down if he uses a loud and monotonous tone of voice. It is important for us to use the correct tone and tone shifts when we communicate in order to convince others. Incident Critical 2. Build up the trust. Trust means that you rely on someone else to do the right thing. You believe in the person's integrity and strength to the extent that you are able to put yourself on the line at some risk to yourself. Trust is essential to an effective team because it provides a sense of safety. When your team members feel safe with each other, they feel comfortable to open up, take appropriate risks, and expose vulnerabilities. This type of trust can be earned by being a steadfast worker. You consistently meet commitments, show up on time, and do what you say you'll do. People rely on your competence and dependability. They are confident that you get the job done. In the clip, Brian trying to develop trust by convincing to try to rescue Walter from prison. This is all about consistent behavior in all your relationships with others. People judge us on our behavior, not our intentions. Trust also allows you to navigate conflict. When you trust your partner, you are more willing to overlook problems or commit to finding solutions to issues because you feel alike in areas that mean the most to you. If your partner does something disappointing, you are more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt and see the good in them if you trust them. Patience is also important. It may take time to rebuild trust, but continuing to work towards improving your relationship can help you eventually mend those damaged connections.
What can I do for you today, Brian?
I wanted to speak to you about Johnny D. McMillan.
You know I wasn't part of his prosecution, right? That was way before my time.
And that's exactly why I wanted to meet you. You see, I've read through the record quite a few times now, and I have some serious doubts about the reliability of his conviction. If you could take a look at the sections I've highlighted here, you'll see some problems with Ralph Meyer's testimony.
Man, this is one of the most outrageous crimes. in Monroe County history. Your client made a lot of people very angry.
I understand that, but there are some serious problems with this case. And I was hoping that I can get your support to figure out what really happened.
I already know what happened. Johnny D. McMillan was convicted by a jury of brutally murdering a teenage girl in my community, and it is my job to defend the integrity of that conviction.
Even if that conviction is based on false testimony.
You're the only one I know who thinks that.
Then I must be the only one who read that record because it's pretty obvious.
That man caused a lot of pain. A lot of pain for folks around here. And if you go digging in those wounds, you're gonna be making a lot of people very unhappy.
Well, it isn't my job to make people happy. It's to achieve justice for my client.
Well, Ralph Myers is 2 confessions and a statement from Bill Hooks.
I asked for copies of all the police and witness statements.
Well, that's what you're holding.
This is a joke. Where's the rest of it?
That's what's relevant to the McMillan case. If you want more, you'll have to file a discovery motion with the court, just like anybody else. Thanks for coming by today, Mr. Stevenson.
Expect that motion soon.
Oh, I look forward to it, Counselor. You want to check out the Mockingbird Museum on your way out of town? It's one of the great civil rights landmarks of the South.
Critical Incident 1. Interpersonal skill. Interpersonal skill are behavior and tactics a person used to interact with others effectively. People use interpersonal skill all the time when dealing with others, whether in a workplace, in a social situation, or within a family. In this excerpt, Brian Stevenson used different skill when he dealing with prosecutor. He tried to negotiate by asking prosecutor to assist him in finding additional evidence in the murder case when he said, "I hope I will get your support to figure out what really happened." Brian Stevenson also shown his interpersonal skill when he tried to control his anger by saying, "This is the joke." When prosecutor gave incomplete evidence to him, he still was able to control the feelings even though he was disappointed with the answer from prosecutor. He still maintained a professional tone of voice without raising it, even though the prosecutor not giving a good cooperation in that discussion. As a lawyer, Brian has acted appropriately by using interpersonal skill to control the situation. Interpersonal skills are very important to ensure the discussion does not become too tense and ended well. Example of interpersonal skills shown in that excerpt can be applied in a workplace environment where we need to constantly maintain professional ethics. We must be able to control the anger or dissatisfaction during the discussion and can use negotiation as a medium of solution. If negotiations are not successful, we should not show our anger because it affects professionalism. It is important for us to use interpersonal skill when we communicate with other person in order to interact with effectively. Critical Incident 2. Positive politeness strategy. Positive politeness strategy are speech or act that express concern for others and minimize threat to self-esteem in particular social contexts. Positive politeness strategy are intended to avoid giving offense by highlighting friendliness. This strategy that the prosecutor tried to do when he politely end the conversation by standing up and shaking hand with the Brian Stevenson. this action was done because he wanted to chase out Brian Stevenson quickly and stop the discussion in polite manner. Although a prosecutor was not satisfied with the discussion, but he managed to hide his emotional feelings. He still kept his work and acted professionally without raising his voice, and the discussion ended in a peaceful and professional manner. The strategy of politeness can be used as a good example that can apply when we are in a formal discussion in a workplace. It is an ethic professionalism in discussion where it can avoid conflicts of different opinion and be able to end the discussion politely. This strategy not only can avoid quarrels, but also can protect dignity and professional honor. It is shown that you have a high level of professionalism. Thank you.
It's easy to see this case as one man trying to prove his innocence. But when you take a black man and you put him on death row a year before his trial, and exclude black people from serving on his jury, when you base your conviction on the coerced testimony of a white felon, and ignore the testimony of 24 law-abiding black witnesses, when any evidence proving his innocence is suppressed and anyone who tries to tell the truth is threatened, this case becomes more than the trial of just a single defendant. It becomes a test of whether we're going to be governed by fear and by anger or by the rule of law. If the people standing in the back of this courtroom are all presumed guilty when accused, if they have to leave here and live in fear of when this very thing will happen to them, if we're just going to accept the system that treats you better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent, then we can't claim to be just. If we say we're committed to equal justice under law, to protecting the rights of every citizen, regardless of wealth, race, or status, then we have to end this nightmare for Walter McMillan and his family. The charges against them have been proven to be a false construction of desperate people, fueled by bigotry and bias, who ignored the truth in exchange for easy solutions, and that's not the law. That's not justice. That's not right. I ask that this case be dismissed immediately, Your Honor. Thank you.
Critical incident first from this excerpt is body language from Brian is bowel movement. Actually, body language is the use of gestures, facial expressions, and mannerism to convey meaning without using words. Through their nonverbal actions, people can put others at ease and strengthen their bonds with them. But it can also make people confused, cause conflict, or even make a place uncomfortable. This is, I take from Ashley Tulio, April 2021, The Role of Body Language of Communication. In this excerpt, Brian exhibits firmness when presenting an argument by standing tall and self-assured, holding nothing in either hand and occasionally tucking both hands behind the back while maintaining an open posture. He used bowel movement from one location to the judge's side. This positive manner gives confidence, and everybody in the courtroom stay and listen to all the states and same time have empathy from the other side. Brian's situation while giving a submission can be applied in work situation that requires someone to give an opinion and listen to their opinion. When a leader speaks or requests some cooperation, this constructive behavior can put into effect. The critical incident 2. I can see tone of voice that Brian using this excerpt is serious and respectful tone. You may be familiar with Albert Mehrabian and his 3-part theory and on effective communication, the language you employ 7%, your vocal tone is 38%, your physical behavior 50%. This is from Page Tomes, February 2022, Types of the Tone of Voice, the Ultimate Guide. Brian used a serious and respectful tone when talking in the courtroom. He gives all the facts about the case in the firm and maintain a tone sound not loud and not too low. He brings all the states very systematic and clear for everyone to understand and agree with him. He asked the judge, I ask that this case be dismissed immediately, Your Honor. Thank you. This dialogue shows he is serious and wants it to be done and judge to get it. He did not use anger tone when asking that thing, but in a firm and respectful tone. This tone of voice is very useful when someone has to make a decision and wanted a superior or staff to follow all the instruction will be given. This positive action can be used in all workplaces for having a good and healthy working environment. The tone of voice can influence people and create empathy to take the opinion and advice. Lastly, from our group is conclusion. From this movie, we have learned so much about positive skills can we practice in our work and how we might remake ourselves and create a future devoid of issues we currently experience in the workplace. In order for a manager to comprehend important situations in a cooperation and to think about the ideal course of action for fixing any issues, a method for learning about human behavior and developing both short-term and long-term answer behavior standards. Thank you, Dr. Sharifah Shahnaz from us.